Hi. Now I'm going to talk about, we introduced twisted pair or unshielded twisted pair in the previous video. Now we're going to look at a little bit more of the properties of unshielded twisted pair cabling, because we use it probably the most of when we're doing in-building wiring, things of that nature. Now, when you look at the shielded twisted pair, it does not have, because it says it's unshielded twisted pair, it does not have any shielding to protect against EMI or RFI interference. So cable designers tried to minimize a way to negate at least the crosstalk, and one of the ways they've done it is by twisting twisting the color cables. You know, as you see down below here, you see the twisted pair, you see the blue, the brown, white. These are key colors that you need to keep in mind. And when you look at the different wiring patterns for an Ethernet connector, that if this was a seated class, this actually was always my favorite chapter, only because I had the students actually try to make an Ethernet cable and wire it up. But what the reason the twist is there, they're trying to negate crosstalk. They're trying to cancel out having these wires side by side. By twisting them, you kind of, the two magnetic fields that are going through that cable, you want to crosstalk it, you want to twist them so that it tries to cancel each other out. Now, based on the type of how fast you're going to go, how much speed you want to run, will increase or decrease the number of twists in this pair. And of course, it's all gauged by a standard, but UTP relies solely on the twisting of the pairs to try to cancel out that crosstalk interference. Now, there are definitely some standards that come into play, and a lot of the standards, TIA, EIA, stipulate the cabling standards that are used for local area network installations. Now, some of the standards, the elements they got to worry about: what type of cable, what kind of lengths, what kind of connectors you can have, how do you terminate a cable, and how do you test it? What kind of methods will you test to make sure that it's all correct? Now, the electrical characteristics are defined by the IEEE. Now, based on in each cable, Ethernet cable is rated in what they call categories. And the larger the number in whether it's a Cat 5, Cat 6, Cat 7, the higher the number, the higher the category, the faster the data that can be carried through that. Now, so it hires for it. Now, the new gigabit Ethernet speeds being developed and adopted. But right now, if you were building something new, you're probably going to choose a Cat 6. I would have my students build a Cat 5 cable only because the connector is easier to insert very thin wires into it to make a connection. Now, there are 3 different types, well, there's 8 different types of categories, but only 3 are used. Well, I've never used a Cat 7 or Cat 8 because I just don't have that kind of speed. So I usually see Cat 3, Cat 5, which comes in 2 flavors, 5 and 5E, and Cat 6 are the ones that are used the most. And it tells each one of those has a speed, how many bits can I get per second? How many gigabit or 10 gigabits of data? Even though this says, oh, I'm supporting 1,000 megabits, guess what? That's 1 gigabit there, 100 megabits here. So based on the category, there is a maximum speed that goes through. Now, some manufacturers are making cables that exceed the Cat 6 cable. But just to give you a rough idea, the Cat 3, it wasn't even a twisted pair. They were all put together, not twisted, so it had more interference. Cat 5, 5E, you see the twisted pair. Here you got, this one's a Cat 6, but it's a shielded twisted pair, and each one of the pairs are shielded. Now, each one of these cables can go into and has to go into some kind of connector. The lion's share of the connectors that we put in Ethernet cables are an RJ45 connector. Now, the TIA-EIA standard 568 describes the color pattern that which wire am I going to put into which pin in the connector. And as you can see, there's about 8 different slots that you can put into this UTP this plug. And when it's all done right, you can see there's certain cables plugged into each one. Now, this standard here, there's an A and a B standard, and it tells you which wire goes in which based on the type of cable you're trying to make. Now, there's a couple of different RJ45 unshielded twisted pair sockets. This is probably one similar to what you're used to seeing in the side of your PC. This one here, instead of having a connector that plugs in here, you'd actually wire in each one of these wires specifically into this. So you'd see this more in like a panel in a telephone office, or based on how many offices have their own telephone cabinet. Now, you see this picture up here, right? Really nice, really crisp, everything's nice and neat. This one's not so good. Now, each one of these connectors, to make sure you got a connection, you crimp this plastic coat over top of the wires. Now, what happens is if you do this, I have a tendency you're going to break these over time. If you want to do it correctly, you want to make sure that, you see this part here? That's where you're crimping. That's what makes a connection. That's what holds the cable, the connector, on top of the wire. And as you can see how smooth and laid out these wires are here, compared to all twisted and turned to try to get to the right place. I didn't even think they missed a spot there. But you want to make sure that you lay these wires as flat as possible, inserted into the connector, making sure that connector goes off and it covers the plastic. Now, I usually tell my students this mount here is about 1/2 inch, not much more than that. If you go much more than that, you're gonna force this crimper to be outside the plastic sheath. Now, like I said, there's a couple of different types of cable. There's an Ethernet straight through, and there's an Ethernet crossover. Now, crossover straight through means I'm connecting 2 dissimilar devices. So each end device is looking for electrical signals on a different wire. If I'm sending information to similar devices, the same identical device, switch to switch, router to router, then you need to send a crossover cable, which means you change a few of the wires around to make sure that I'm not so both aren't transmitting on wire 1 or wire 4. You flip it so that I'm transmitting and receiving differently on one end of the cable versus another. Now, this is where those standards come into play. If I'm doing a straight through cable, I want to make sure I got the same standard, T568A on both sides, or B on both sides, whichever you want to do. But if you're doing a crossover cable, you want to make sure you got an A on one side and a B on the other side. And as you can tell here, what changed? I'm seeing I've got in pin 1, I've got green, white. Over here, the green, white is on pin 3. The solid green's on 2 here. It's on 6 here. So basically what I'm doing, I'm switching 2 basic color schemes. I'm changing the orange and the green. I'm flipping their positions so that I'm not running 2 cars down a one-way road heading at each other, which then gives me what? A collision. Same things happens electrically. So hopefully that helps. Now, some of the standards, like I said, you want to be end straight through both ends, Ethernet crossover, one on that. Now, rollover cable is Cisco proprietary, and basically all they do is they just swap pin 1 for 8, 2 for 7, 3 for 6, 4 for 5. So just rolled everything over. On one end, you've got, let's say, the 568A, and on the B, you switch all the pin positions. That's what your that baby blue cable, that console cable that you use to connect to your switch, that is a rollover cable. Now, what I would do is I would make sure that you go through this scenario and make sure you can match this pinout, because I can guarantee you probably will see it on the test. And I would do the same thing here. So I'm going to end here, and we'll talk about fiber cabling in a second. Talk to you later.